Hello, my name is Kim, and this is How We Met. It's a candid conversation between married couples discussing everything between the most cherished moments and the most challenging. So do me a favor, grab your favorite snack, share it with a friend, and enjoy as we go through how they met.
How you doing? I'm Marvin.
And I'm Carmella.
We're the Carters, and this is our story about how we met. So I'm gonna tell you my story first because it's the truth.
Well, first of all, we've been married for 3
years. Absolutely.
I had to say that because he forgot.
Once.
The other day he told somebody 2 years. Anywho, go ahead. How did we meet?
So we were at a church service and our friend decided to bring us together. She was speaking and I was doing my regular ministerial roles. And my pastor at the time calls us up and says...
Which is also his best friend.
It's important to know this for the story for sure, because he calls us upstairs and he's talking to us and telling her about myself, and I just had a birthday, I just graduated my 3rd degree and this whole shebang. She didn't care.
At all. I was on assignment and I didn't care what he was about.
So as the story goes, he wanted to tell her and all this other stuff, and then she told us that she had been in medical for 10 years and all this other stuff. So in my head, I'm starting to do math. I'm like, well, either she started medical when she was 6, now she's like in the 20s, maybe 30s, or this lady's a lot older than she's putting on. Suffice to say, she was a lot older than she was putting on, and we realized at the moment that we were 10 years apart, which is great.
Who's older?
And so now that you know that I am the baby of the two of us, that whole thing, but after it was over, I had to go and play the drums or something like that. And according to her, I was playing and looking at her the entire time.
You were.
Which is not true.
You were.
This is my story. And so then I was playing the drums, and then I got off the drums and I was by the door and she was about to walk out and I thought she was leaving. So I just simply said, leaving so soon, and she said, mind your business, and then she shoved me into the door.
Can't wait to tell my side.
I can't wait to, yes. So she shoved me into the door, and then I was like, wow, okay. After it was over, long story short, I was in her inbox. Apparently I have a penchant for pain. Your turn.
So what he said was pretty much
the truth.
The truth. However, his friend was really trying. I felt like he just invited me there so he could hook his boy up, but whatever. He invited me to speak at their church. Everything was true except for the part where I pushed him into the door. I felt he was minding my business and asking me where I was going, but low-key, like, I didn't want him to think that my brother was my boo. So I was like, I'm going to get my brother. That's what I said. And I was like, mind your business. And I elbowed him like that.
Threw me into the door.
Elbowed him like this.
Into the door.
Elbowed him like this. And then, what happened? Oh, and then when I came back in, I kind of like, you know how you do, ladies. I gave him one of those like that, but I still wasn't really interested. I just gave him the, and then, then that night he kept watching me all night. And then one of my friends, our mutual friends, even though we didn't know each other, it was our first time actually seeing each other, except for the flyer. He saw me on the flyer, but I've never seen him. And then our mutual friend was like, he said his wife walked through the door and she
to which I have no recollection of the scene.
He like, you did say that. And I had on like the all white, and so he said his wife walked through the door, and he didn't really like me after I told him I was 10 years older than him with all these kids. Then he was like, hold up. So that's how we met.
That's how we met.
That's how we met.
It's a wonderful story.
Hi, we're the Hudsons. I'm Darin.
I'm Sharina.
And we've been married for 7.5 years.
Yeah, 7.5.
How we met? We met at church. We were approximately 15, 16. We sang on the choir together. We're not on each other's radar
not
by
at
any
all.
means. You didn't have to say it.
Sorry.
But yeah, we met on the choir.
He was dating someone, I was dating someone, we went to college, we still were with other people. He was a drummer, I was a singer, we weren't interested at all. But my mom actually wanted to get a choir from Drexel, so what happened was I had to contact him because he was the drummer, and I asked him if they could come and do something for my mother, and since then we just connected, we're best friends, talked all the time, and it just kind of went from there.
We re-met on Facebook, as ironic as that is. I have had a love-hate relationship with social media since I was approximately 19 years old, but we re-met. We stayed in touch, talked about college, talked about our respective relationships, kept one another in the loop. We became best friends over the course of a few years, just staying in touch. And we snuck up on one another, and next thing you know, we got married.
It was like 7 years later, but okay.
We're the Simmons family, and my name is Francella.
I'm Tony.
My husband, Tony. And we've been married for 28 years. 28 years, right?
Yeah, been together 30.
And we met, I was friends with his sister. And so I met him when he was wearing his underoos.
Sweat me way back.
Listen, he was wearing his underoos, and he had to watch her daughter while we went out partying. And he was scoping on me the whole time. I didn't realize he was scoping on me.
Yeah.
Used to tell the neighbors what? What you told those neighbors?
True story. I'm gonna marry her one day.
And see, but if I knew that though, it could have been different.
Yeah, right. You still would have been sweating me.
But we met over 30 years ago and been going strong ever since.
Yeah.
So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful ride, I can say. Some people might think that we live a fairy tale life, but it's real, right?
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. I mean,
We go through things too.
yeah, absolutely. But when we go through things, it's usually something that he says that make me laugh. So I'll start laughing. After I fuss, I'll start laughing.
Yeah, true.
So it's like, our relationship has really grown in the years.
Best friends.
Absolutely.
Best
You have to
friends.
become best friends before you can really get into a relationship
Absolutely.
and marriage, for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right?
We are the Whaleys. I'm Keith. This is Hollie. We've been married for 11 years. How we met? We met in the house of the Lord
True,
in church.
we did.
I'm a musician. I was playing at my home church, and she had joined. But what's funny is that we didn't really see each other until some time later.
Yeah, it was like, I think I had been at the church for 3 years,
And I've been longer than that.
right? And it was a small church, it wasn't a big church. And we never really noticed one another, even though we were on the pulpit and doing very front line things, never noticed each other.
Right. Because I think God was hiding us at the time, because at the time when I first started there, I was going through a divorce. So God was keeping me hidden from you and me hiding from you because I wasn't looking for anybody. So that's probably why I didn't see you. I wasn't looking for you.
Oh, see?
So I was looking for God. And then it's funny that I guess we didn't see each other or notice each other because I wasn't looking for anybody, because at the time when I was first there, God was hiding me because I was going through a divorce at the time when I first started playing there. So I guess when everything finalized, the divorce was finalized and I was out there single on my own, that's when we started to notice each other.
That's true. I think one thing that's really funny is I used to pray all the time that God, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I would say to God, just bring him to my door, because I was really bad at picking men. And so I would just say, God's just gonna have to bring him to my door. And I would just say, God, you just have to bring him because I'm not looking anymore. And the place that we met each other, what a place to meet, right? It was like God just brought you to my door, even though it wasn't physically my house door, right?
It was his house door.
Right.
So you weren't specific enough. You weren't.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we met.
So how we met each other's family is Marvin comes from a very Christian two-family, mother and father in the home. He has a sister, and they have very high hopes for their handsome son. Where I didn't care about my mom meeting him. My father's passed away, God bless his soul. But I cared about my children meeting him. And so when I didn't want them to meet until we knew we were serious. And we met in June. We broke up 3 times before August, all because of me. But that's when he met my son. My daughters and my son. I took them to Cocoa Keys. And I had no idea that he couldn't swim and was afraid of water, really.
Not afraid of water, just can't swim. There's a difference.
Can't swim.
There's a difference.
Right. So, so my kids are like sliding down the slides and just enjoying themselves. So I'm sorry. I love you, though. Mm-hmm. So I was like, slide down the slide. And I don't think he thought that he could stand up in the water. He was like, so it was just funny to see him reacting with the water because he's so tall and muscular and
almost
sexy.
Killed myself.
And he is scared of water at Cocoa Keys.
What I was actually, let me be honest and transparent here for a second.
Okay.
What was the most, for me, was the fact you took me to a water park and I'm like, I don't know these girls, and now I have to take off my clothes in front of them.
And my daughter was 14,
and
13?
she was 13 at the time.
13,
yeah, she was 13 at the time. So she just
like,
hit puberty. I was working out, and that's exactly why I put my shirt back on.
You can't look at him like that. He's my man. But he was ripped up like. Everybody in Cocoa Keys could see it.
And that's the reason why I put my shirt back on. And in the photo, my shirt is on.
You're right. So that's how he met my daughters and my son. And then my mom, when she first met him, she was just like, I love him. Because when we first met, he was meaner than he is now. He's a lot more.
Why in the world would that go in the how we met section? Why would that go in the how we met each other's family section?
Wait, listen. Because she looked past all of that, babe, and she saw the inner.
That's not fair. That was a low blow. You should have mentioned that on the B-roll.
On the B, okay.
Yeah.
So she saw him and was just like, but I like him. And I was like, me too. So my mom automatically, she's really flexible. So so I'll let him tell you guys about how his parents, because I don't want to do no low blows, his parents felt about me. So remember, I had kids, I was previously married.
So because she had kids, she was previously married, and she was older than me, my parents, my dad was okay. They took her to lunch, he took her to lunch, had a conversation with her, really got a chance to know her. It was some time.
Yeah.
My mom, about a year and a half after marriage, once we had the baby, then my mom started warming up and like whatever. But what really did it was my sister brought a boyfriend home who nobody liked. I'm saying this is what warmed my mom up to you.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it was like the triangle effect of both of us against this guy. Now he's no longer here. They have a good relationship, so it worked out great.
Yeah, like he was the buffer. Like he helped her like me.
Yeah, that's about right. But my mom was not fond.
No, his parents were not happy. Well, his mother more than his father was not happy at all.
Yeah,
I
but
had
then
to let her know, like I said, he wanted me. Like I don't want him.
Wow, I didn't know you said that to her. Yeah,
I did say that to her.
Wild.
I did, baby. We was grown. Like,
I know, but like to hear it now is weird.
Oh yeah, because she thought that I was kind of, I'm older, so I'm 10 years older than her, so she thought I'm trying to like capture her son. I'm like, he wanted me. Like he pushed up on me. He was in my inbox, and then now I want him, and you're not gonna stop this.
That's what she said to her. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, we had to have that real woman conversation. And I think we could be transparent like this. I wish we could interview with her one day, because I think that people need to understand that all in-laws aren't going to be nice. They're just aren't going to be nice. And it took me and him being married. Like, I remember on our wedding day, she did come up to me and say, welcome to the family. And then she gave me, she didn't embrace me. She just was like.
Now within
But now she embraces me.
Right, but remember, in that time period, my dad also died.
Yeah.
Right,
died.
so my dad died in between that, which made it really difficult to accept anybody new. I proposed 2 weeks after my dad died.
Yeah.
But he knew that we were going to get married, so that made it a little bit more difficult in general.
Our families, because we grew up in the same church, knew each other. So they were very familiar, like they were very involved. His family more so behind the scenes, and my family more in front of the scenes as like a usher or a singer.
My earliest memory of your mom was when I was on the choir. I just remember her as that nice usher lady with the different color hairs. One minute it was blue, next minute it was purple. That's how I knew that you were connected to her, or she was connected to you.
I appreciate the memory. But outside of that, when we connected and became a couple, then we met through holidays and different events. But their response was, I know who she is because I know her parents. So that's kind of how we met the families.
They were receptive because there was that familiarity piece. And also because, not to throw shade on previous relationships, but she made the cut for a reason. And people, the funny thing was, because my family is big on food and gatherings, they can kind of tell what type vibe you on by what your plate looks like. So she wasn't acting cute, I'll put it that way. And so they liked her from that minute. Like that first Thanksgiving, it was a wrap.
Okay.
Everything had to be sarcastic.
I'm sorry. His family, they were very receptive to me, and I feel like my family was receptive to him. The first thing that my brother said to me was, I remember him because I used to play ball with him. And my mom and my stepdad at the time, they also took him in and was like, are you sure you know what you're getting into? Because, you were a little laid back and Sharina is like more direct to the point. So, but I think both families were receptive to us dating and going forward.
I met his family first, actually. We went to, I think it was like a baby shower or something that one of your sisters was having, or a birthday party.
Yeah, birthday party.
And I went over there to meet the family, but I was meeting not really for you, but I was actually there as friends for your sisters.
Right.
And I met you then, but once again, at that time, you was a young boy, you was like a young buck. I couldn't touch that, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't touch that at that time. Once you got older, then that's when, things happen. But when he met my family, they were very supportive of him. I actually think that they liked you more than me.
I would say so.
You really?
Yeah. Let's just stop over there all the time and talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
I'm like, wait a second. Like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it happens,
No, you were just trying to get in and be Joe, extra Joe.
Yeah,
Was that what it
I
was?
got in.
You got all the way in, right?
Yeah, that's another story.
Yeah, so our families really, really connect. They definitely connect on both sides. Usually in relationships, it's always some problems on the other side, with either your significant other.
She's the best thing that ever happened to me, which she is.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Took me off the streets and stuff, calm me right down.
Mm-hmm. Gave you an ultimatum, basically. Me or the streets. Yeah, that's what happened. But yeah,
I'm here now.
Yeah. To stay, right?
You won.
I know that's right.
I met your mother, I believe, on Father's Day. We had
Yes,
a
that's
special
true.
service on Father's Day, and they were having a potluck dinner kind of thing, like everybody brings and stuff.
Right.
Hopefully, everybody brought what they were supposed to make, what they made well. And I sat down.
But I wasn't yours.
Right. And I was a father. I'm not supposed to bring anything. I'm being fed. And I was a single man, so I don't cook.
Of course not.
Right. So I guess I met your mother. She happened to sit down next to me. You know, we engaged. She's a real cool person. And then she left the spot, and here come you sitting in between me. And then I'm going to get this out there now because she's going to lie and say that I asked her invalid or rude questions. But I'm going to say this right, put this on the record now. What she's about to say is
the truth. Come on.
What did I ask you? What do you think I asked you?
You know what you asked me.
I didn't ask you anything.
And you said, how old are you? You did. You really said that. And I said, you never ask a woman her age. And what did you say?
I didn't say anything.
You
What
said
that I said was, well, how old are you?
yes, you did. You asked me several times and I was appalled. And you just never would shut up asking that question. What did it matter?
I don't want you to tell the truth, I guess. I don't know because I don't remember because you're lying on me.
I'm not lying on you.
And we're still together even though you lied on me.
Because you know in your heart of hearts that I'm telling the truth.
All right, so when did you meet the kids?
I think I met the kids in church, actually, because when you played, they would be there sitting by themselves, or people, church mothers would watch them, and so I think that's kind of how I met the kids, just in passing and knowing them. But one of my favorite stories right after meeting the kids was that Nia, my daughter, said to me, Miss Hollie, she was sitting in her car seat, and she said, Miss Hollie, do you want a husband? And I said, well, yeah, when God brings one. She says, don't you worry, I got this. And she was probably 5 years old, and I thought, oh God, what does that mean? Because I had no interest. We were not, at that point, even really, we were just friends. And so for me, I thought, what in the world does she mean by that? But I guess she knew exactly. And she said, I'm going to talk to my daddy. And I thought, oh, this is not going to be good.
Right, and what's funny is that several years prior to that, before I was divorced and everything, I was in the car with my daughter, and she was happening to tell me, Dad, you need somebody that loves you. Somebody that loves you, like somebody that loves you, not mommy, but you need somebody that loves you. I was like, whoa. It's amazing that at 3 or 4 years old, she's in depth enough to realize that our relationship wasn't what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I often remind her of that when she went through like her early teenage years and we would butt heads. Remember, this is your fault. You had it. You talked to Daddy about it. So yeah, that was, I think that's when I first met the kids. Meeting our families, the larger families, that was interesting. That was an interesting process. I met his sister. We all went to dinner. And so that was comfortable because we went with friends. So there was a big group of us, so it kind of protected me. But that was different. And then I think, I don't remember how I met your dad. I remember, though, knocking on his door and saying, can I talk to you? And he was like, of course. And we sat on the porch, and he just poured wisdom into me and didn't even really know me. And I really knew at that point, whether I kept you or not, I was keeping him. Because that was special.
Yeah. How we met after marriage, it was to some degree, it was familiar in a different way. It's like, wow, like we really did a thing. Like, no, this person is not going home after we kiss and say hi because they are home. Like when we were dating, it was a thing like, hey, love you, we kiss, We say bye, see you next time. But that began this whole every single day. You're with this person. I think how we met, it was, again, a lot of trial and error. I think that was probably the most significant thing. Is learning how not to beat ourselves up. And I can speak specifically for me. I was the perfectionist. I wanted to do everything right. And in the process of doing that, you know, I hurt the woman of God's feelings plenty of times. And I've accidentally offended her so many times. And, you know, you make mistakes with the right intention. So a lot of it was try. You know, for me, it was about do not be afraid to be vulnerable, to share what you're not good at. Because I had this whole facade ready that I was going to be the He-Man husband who had it all together. And she made it very easy to entrust my frailties and my imperfections. So that took a long time. You know, it took several months with us being newlyweds, but that's where it started for me.
I think how we met after marriage, we met in therapy, which is a big thing for us. We did premarital counseling, but we made sure that we did 6-month check-ins, and our therapist was very like, she's just a straight shooter. And so we would do a check-in, and something that she said, because we have counseling backgrounds, it's easy for us to do it to one another and to kind of counsel ourselves, but we needed somebody outside of us to tell us, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm hearing, you might want to work on this. And so one thing she said to us was, you guys are treating each other like fine china. You're walking on eggshells because you're trying to protect one another's feelings, but by doing that, you're not being your authentic selves. Therefore, you're not going to grow authentically. And so after that conversation, we drove home, and I was like, okay. So that's when we started to be more so raw with one another. And also, yes, being mindful of his feelings and my feelings, but knowing that we're strong enough, we agreed to this, so we're strong enough to deal with the rawness and grow from it if we put the work in. So I think that through accountability, through therapy, through constant communication about, you know, whose feeling got hurt and why, and working through that until it was settled, I think that that's how we met after marriage.
How we met after marriage is pretty much the same. We was doing the same things anyway.
Exactly.
Hanging out, laughing, being the best of friends.
I didn't think it changed as much at all because we already, you know, had that relationship.
It just made
we
it
lived
official.
together. We lived together prior to getting married, so I already knew, you know, the good and the bad.
Right.
So
we knew what we was dealing with.
Yeah, I think
it was the same.
It definitely was the same. Most definitely.
We just have to say we got married in 2 months. So when we got engaged on December 24th, and we got married February 26th. So, and we can talk more about that as we get to other questions, I'm sure, and talk about our lives, right? But, so meeting in marriage, that's a very true statement for us. And we could talk about the time that you woke me up from a dead sleep and I screamed and scared the entire house because I didn't know what was going on. Randomly, I would see somebody and it would scare me because I wasn't used to having
a big black man walking in the bedroom. You know, I'm trying to like nicely wake her up, Hollie, babe, Hollie, babe, and, you know, then I went to go touch her, touched her, shook her. The whole house woke up and just like, kids come right out of the room. I don't know. I just walked in to say something. And she's scared. She's crying. The kids are crying, and I'm like, oh great, then here come the cops. I just knew it.
That was funny. I mean, I can laugh now. At the time, I must have been in a really dead sleep for you to wake me up like that. But
Yeah.
But how we met, I think, was we had a lot of different things that transpired. So just trying to, since he had been married before, he kind of understood married life, but I had never been married before. So it was very different for me. All of a sudden, I had a husband and an entire family. And so that was, it took me a while to adjust to that. And I think we met in marriage when we really were able to have like our kids' free weekends, and we got to date because we didn't date prior to getting married.
Like
the traditional type dating. And so that's where I really got to know you. And one of the things I think that you said to me, and now that I'm thinking about it, like, what were you trying to say? But we were talking about marriage, and you said to me, it's different when you date and you put your best foot forward, and then, you know, you realize that the saint you thought you married is also a sinner, right? And that there's shortcomings and their downsides. And I think that was very telling to me, because at that moment, I knew I was safe. There were certain times, very pivotal things you said that made me know I was safe in the marriage. And for me, that's how we met.
Right, because I think what I said was, it's one thing to fall in love with the saint or the perfect person that you portray, but it's another to fall in love with the sinner.
Right.
Right? And that's what Christ does for us. He fallen in love when we were sinners.
Right.
So and God wants the man to love his wife as Christ loved the church.
Right.
So if I was to love you, I'm going to love the sinner as well as the saint that's inside of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching How We Met. This is a conversation that we're going to continue next week, so make sure that you join us and tune in as the couples discuss how they met.